Hello, welcome to Mike's Mets Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Pashota, and happy Thursday to you. And if you're a Mets fan, you gotta be happy right now because the Mets break their losing streak. They have taken a 2-1 victory over the Detroit Tigers, and in the second game of a doubleheader today, a game that oftentimes didn't look like the Mets were going to win. They were being no hit for a few innings there at the beginning of game two. Game one, they were leading up to a certain point, but blew it in extra innings, dropping their fifth straight game. But coming back in incredible fashion in game two, down. 1-0 going into the bottom of the ninth. The Mets string together a rally with between Harrison Bader, Pete Alonso, Brett Beatty, and finally Tyrone Taylor to win the game. Taylor coming through with a walk-off extra base hit to score Brett Beatty, but only got there after Pete Alonso came through with a incredibly clutch solo shot in the bottom of the ninth on a changeup out of the strike zone that Alonso just used all of his muscle to take out and put just over the wall in left center field. And it was a huge shot for Alonso for a number of reasons. One, obviously tying the game late in this one, but just coming through in that sense. And this was a clutch at bat in a lot of ways, but he. This is, as we've said before many times, Alonso's walk year. He has got to demonstrate how important he is to this franchise. Not that he hasn't demonstrated enough already. We, as Met fans, know how important Pete Alonso is, and we gotta get together here so that we can get Pete Alonso in a Met uniform going forward. But Alonso's been clutch. He has been one of the few Met hitters that has not been struggling as much as others. We're going to note a couple of them in a minute. But it's an incredible day for the Mets just to kind of cap that off. And I thought the Mets were going to win game two just because it felt like they had the advantage in the pitching matchup with Jose Budo on the mound. Jose Budo pitched terrifically in game two. But let's talk about game one for a second. So game one. As I mentioned before, the Mets were winning early on in that game before ultimately dropping at 6-3, but they were up 3-0 going into the sixth inning. They had Adrian Hauser on the mound for the first 5 innings. Hauser pitched well, but got into some trouble in the sixth, and despite having only thrown 67 pitches at that point, they decided to pull him. This is going to be one of the question decisions as to why pull out Adrian Hauser that early, particularly when you have a double header that day. But Carlos Mendoza, he's going to get he's gotten his share of questions already about his strategies and decisions. There's of course the much criticized sac bunt attempt from Brett Beatty later in this game that people were kind of flabbergasted that Mendoza went for that option with Beatty, who already has a home run on this season and has been swinging the bat pretty decently thus far. But he pulls Hauser and basically empties out his bullpen over the next 6 innings. He uses Brooks Raley, he uses Drew Smith, he uses Jake Diekman, he uses Adam Ottavino, he uses Edwin Diaz in a non-safe situation. He uses Jorge Lopez, and then finally Michael Tonkin. And Tonkin ultimately is the one responsible for all the runs at the in the top of the 11th, where he just kind of blows it. And this is Tonkin's second loss already. We're already establishing a trend with Tonkin that he has so far looked like the least impressive of the Mets relievers. And it has to be said, the Mets bullpen has been coming through a lot in these first few games for them. They're coming through. The starters are not going very deep in these games. The Mets bullpen has to keep stepping up in these situations. They've had some trouble with some guys. I mentioned Jorge Lopez. He got a scoreless inning today, but Lopez then pitched well in the Milwaukee series. And now Tonkin, this is the second straight series that he's played in that he has gotten a loss for the bullpen. So 2 losses already in the season. We're only 6 games into the season. He already has 2 losses. It's not a great start to your time in the Mets. So Michael Tonkin already looking like a bit the black sheep in the Mets bullpen thus far. But everyone else has looked terrific. It's been a really huge step up game, and in this game Hazard pitched pretty well as I mentioned before, but the Mets bullpen came through in a big way. None bigger though. Actually, before we said that, Pete Alonso had gone also 2 for 5 in Game One. Also struck out 3 times, but besides that, the early hero thus far this season has been Francisco Alvarez. Alvarez was 2 for 5 again today. He's batting 400 now, I believe, on the season. Early on, he came away with a couple of RBIs in this one. RBI double to put the Mets ahead. Oh, sorry, 2 RBI double in the bottom of the third in Game One. He has looked excellent thus far, and I'm really impressed with what I'm seeing with Francisco Alvarez early on. He was not available in Game Two. The start went to Omar Narvaez, although Alvarez would come in late on a pitch hit situation. And Game Two was pretty ugly for the most part. I actually was not sure about this game for a good portion of it, particularly because not to mention the Mets were being no hit for a good portion of it, but it was getting late, and I really had not seen any kind of real change about this. We need to talk about Francisco Lindor, who was off to a god awful start to the season. He was 0 for 4 in Game One, and in Game Two, just continue that. He is now batting .042 on the season. Brandon Nimmo, not far behind him, .048. So they are redefining the Mendoza line early on in the season. Nimmo at least is getting on base. He walked 3 times in Game Two. But Lindor, it's just been a whole lot of nothing thus far. He has now looked very comfortable at the plate. Nothing really surprising in that regard because Francisco Lindor is traditionally a very slow starter to the season. Doesn't really play well in cold. So we're just kind of waiting for him to kind of heat up, but we would certainly like him to be, just because of how important he is to the Mets lineup, to start heating up a little bit sooner than normal. And then I mentioned before Jose Budo. He came through in a big way. Through 6 innings, 6 terrific innings actually. And this is going to be my ongoing narrative in while Senga is out. I'm going to be pushing for the Mets to be starting Jose Budo over Tyler McGill because I'm just not here for the Tyler McGill situation. I've seen it enough, and I've seen Jose Budo, and of the two of them, I feel much more comfortable with Jose Budo on the mound than Tyler McGill. And Miguel, there's really nothing I can say about him that hasn't already been said. Budo, though, 6 innings, 3 hits, 1 earned run, walked 3, but K'd 6. They did over 90 pitches. He was very economical with his pitch count. I was loving it. I'm going to give my award out now, the Tom Seaver Award for pitching performance of the game, to Reed Garrett, who came through in an incredible way for the Mets bullpen. I mentioned completely depleted in Game One because of Carlos Mendoza. So Reed Garrett gets the call in the 7th inning after Budo left, and Garrett comes in and is basically tasked with, okay, you're going to take us home here. And Garrett came up clutch. Kept the Tigers scoreless over those 3 innings. Only allowed 2 base hits, struck out 4, only walked 1. He was outstanding in Game Two. Kept the game in reach for the eventual comeback and win for the Mets. So kudos to you, Reed Garrett. You are the Tom Seaver pitching performance of the game winner today. The David Wright offensive performance of the game, it's got to go Pete Alonso. Alonso's he didn't get the walk off, but he came up with the clutch solo home run to tie the game up. Pete, particularly after the 2 for 5 performance in Game One, really love what I saw from Pete Alonso today. It's going to be important, particularly if Lindor and Nimmo are struggling early on. They're going to be leaning on Alonso, and they don't have JD Martinez either yet, so they're going to have to be waiting for those reinforcements. So Pete, on the days that he doesn't have Francisco Alvarez in the lineup with him, he's going to be tasked to sort of hold things up on his own. And you know what, Pete Alonso, he has the he certainly has the pedigree and the time spent with the team that I fully trust that he can come through in those ways for them. So Pete Alonso, you get that award for yourself. Congratulations, David Wright, offensive performance of the game. Finally, the Ray Ordonez, the defensive performance of the game, or sorry, defensive play of the game. It's got to go to Brett Beatty, who was all over the place. I mean, in game one, particularly in that 11th inning, where he was just getting pelted with hard line drives and had to keep like making stops, making plays. It was pretty wild to watch out there, but he made a very slick sliding. I don't know, like catch stop. I don't know how to describe it. What it was in game two, and was able to pull it off. So at third and at the top of the second, comes away with a great stop and threw out. Who was that? It was at the bat there for the Tigers though, but incredible stop to end the second inning, and he gets the defensive. Ray Ordonez defensive play of the game. So congratulations to Brett Beatty as well. So Mets are finally in the win column. Let's be happy about it. It has not been a lot to really talk about thus far for the Mets, just because we've had more rainouts than games. It feels like at this point. It's just been a very rainy April start to the season. We're not really clearly in gear in terms of the offensive side, but from the pitching performance side, it's been pretty solid, with the exception of the Luis Severino debacle in Game 2. But here's hoping that the Mets can kind of use this win, kind of get turned around here, and start swinging the ball with a little bit. Start swinging the bat with a little bit more purpose here, particularly from their stars. We need Alonso and Nimmo and Lindor and Alvarez to be sort of the engine cooking here. And we're just kind of waiting for JD Martinez to arrive. In terms of a timetable as to when JD Martinez is actually going to show up, there's been a few reports going out. Today it was reported by Anthony DiComo that it's quote unquote still fluid. So we're not really sure basically when exactly he's going to come. They don't think he's going to be available by Sunday for the series in Cincinnati. We also are not. So he's apparently ramped up the program. He's moving through into the Mets minor affiliates. That he should be available there, but for now he's just been working out in Port St. Lucie. So the sooner JD Martinez arrives in with the team, I think the better, just because of the struggles that they've had early on thus far. They could use that offensive pick me up that Martinez undoubtedly I think can bring to this team. So here's hoping that can be. But let's focus on the positives right now, which are Mets win today, big win, big comeback win, big comeback walk-off win. That's not something you see every day. So congratulations, New York Mets. Let's keep this going.
Thank you for listening to the Mike Spence podcast. Please be sure to follow us on Spotify and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. Finally, please also follow the podcast Twitter, which is Mike Spence Pod, all one word. Appreciate your time and have a wonderful rest of your day or evening. Let's go, Mets.